republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, good evening and welcome to the September 12th Alton Selectmen's meeting. If I could, can I get a approval of the agenda?
Make a motion to approve the agenda. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I have one addition.
Okay.
It's in your packet. It'd be under request for appointments.
Okay.
It's gentleman from Dan Kelly Drive. Info's right in the packet. Jim Raschalia. Raschiilla. It's reference the discontinuing of snow plow. He sent it to me personally, but I thought he sent it to the town too. But, and I noticed it wasn't on the agenda, so.
Okay. I make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Announcements. The public participation policy applies to all selectmen's meetings. A copy of it is on the back of each agenda posted in this meeting room and on our website. Alton Town Clerk and Tax Collector's Office will be closed due to the state primary election held at St. Catherine's Drexel Church at Alton Church. The Alton Town Clerk and Tax Collector's Office will be closed Tuesday, September 13th, 2022. I got to open for a public hearing, but as you said, we can keep moving on.
Keep moving on until
6:05. New business, the IT department.
You can listen to see
Kind
his
of.
name. Might take a little while.
That's what I was kind of wondering, if we want to just wait a minute and open the public hearing. That's probably going to take a minute, right?
Yeah, I don't want to cut you off in the
Yeah.
middle of it.
Sorry, Josh. I
Just hang around.
I thought we might be able to sneak it in, but that's going to be a minute.
We only got about a minute and a half
Yeah.
left. No.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, okay. Seems like a minute takes about 10 when you're waiting for it. All right, I'd like to open a public hearing, and this is for the Highway Block Grant Bridge Aid Fund acceptance. In 2021 and 2022, the Highway Block Grant allocation for the town of Alton was $194,488.26. We should be receiving a letter from New Hampshire DOT regarding the 2022-2023 allocation. The additional federal funds of 30 million has the distribution allocation of these additional funds in the amount of $165,714.79. Yeah, so if there's any public comment or anything on that, the floor is you guys's.
Add to the bridge, to So that was the highway block.
That was the highway, and then
And then the bridge aid is the additional
106.
106.
106,858 for municipal bridges. That was also given.
Currently, we don't have any.
Yeah, we don't have, and right now we don't have any bridges, any known bridges to repair or replace. So. Huh? Yeah.
Hi, Councilman. Is there a time frame that we have to use these funds by?
I do not believe so. They're all,
So
once we have
so
them,
we
we
can
have them.
receive them and they'll just be allocated for the bridge, and so we'll sit there until such time.
Correct. As long as anybody else from. Guess we don't have to.
And close the public hearing.
So as long as nobody else has anything, I guess we'll close public hearing. Can I get a motion from the board to accept the sum of $165,714.79 for the highway block grant portion?
So moved.
I'll make that motion.
Oh, so we got motion, second. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, and can I get a motion to accept the 106,858 for use on municipal bridges?
Moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, now, the IT department.
Public input.
What? I'm sorry, public input. Ahead of myself. We only do this once a month now. Seeing none. IT department. Yeah, we'll try one more time. Document management system. Evening, Josh.
Good evening. So I'm here looking for your support with moving forward with this document management system, Power DMS, looking to spend $7,952.64 out of capital reserve this year, and funding it out of the operating budget, $8,044.78 in the second year. Looking to do this. Over the years, there have been many requests to my department from several other departments indicating a strong need for the digitization of records. We're at pretty much capacity. I say pretty much, but we're really at capacity in the Heike room with paper records and file cabinets. I have opened up the file cabinets down there myself, and they are to the max.
This is true. May I?
Yeah, absolutely.
Is this two-part payment final, or is this continued into the third year or fourth year?
It would be continued.
Be continued for, do you know those amounts, or are they equivalent to what we see here?
So I was told it would be a 2 to 3% increase year over year.
So every,
There's a maintenance fee, a yearly maintenance fee.
Right.
okay.
I'm sorry.
A
I was
yearly
just trying to
maintenance
clear-
fee, yes.
That's what that second payment is the yearly maintenance fee for the cloud storage that's associated with it, the amount of,
So we're looking at that same amount in the third year?
it's a, yes.
So
it's a
that would be
reoccurring.
like 8,044
Yes,
plus an increase of a percentage.
yes.
Correct.
Mr. Chairman, I know we have a problem with the file cabinets and the filing system. Now, if we institute this, will the old records be put into this, or is this just for new stuff?
That's the plan. It has unlimited storage. So the plan is to get all of our old records into this system,
System,
and then, all the new records moving forward into the system as well.
So basically, we'd be doing away with our paper file system.
It'd be a catch-all, but we'd still have paper records.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
ohave to keep.
yeah, certain ones, right?
Correct.
How long would that process take? To transfer?
We have a lot of stuff. It would be quite the process.
That would take some time.
Mhm.
But it's a good idea either way.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And in the backup, I noticed that like the police department, they're in favor of it.
Oh, yeah.
Highway, public works.
There are other departments that did not, I've requested, several to send me memos, showing their support. But there are several other departments that did not put in memos that verbally expressed to me their strong support.
Can imagine.
We've reached capacity. And
Absolutely.
we need to move forward.
And the accessibility is better,
Correct.
if somebody wants to find something.
I can't tell you how many people I've seen or walked by headed to the hiking room to go grab a record
Yeah.
when they could just do it from their desktop.
How secure is it, Joe? Are you comfortable with the security aspect for stuff that we need to?
Their bread and butter is police department records management. So
Perfect.
yeah, and they've expressed to me that all their stuff is in a data center that's very secure.
One question, if I may, what is the backup procedure if something crashed and you lose the information?
So it's all in the cloud and they have it in a co-located database, so it's spread out. So geographically speaking, if something happened, they have it in another data center in the US.
Thank you.
So there's a fail safe for the fail safe, pretty much.
It's redundant.
It might be safer there than where it is now.
It's time. If we had a fire right now, everything we got's
Absolutely.
gone.
Good point.
Because those aren't fireproof file
Yeah.
cabinets.
No, it's gone.
I mean, God
Everything's gone.
forbid.
It's time.
Yep. All right, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the IT director to update our system, the document management system for our files for the town of Alton Town Hall. For the first initial payment of $7,952.64 from the IT Capital Reserve Fund. And then the $8,044.78 in the second year of the IT operating budget.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Right.
Thank you, Josh.
Thanks.
Fire department wage increases. Evening, Chief.
Good evening. So basically what I'm looking for is your support to get our permanent part-time and our full-time shift staff to a little bit better wage. And I know we recently visited the entire wage scale. Like I said, in the past, every time we do a pay study, it's just about obsolete by the time we hit print. They just keep going up. Basically, what I'm looking at is, I'm looking at trying to get these guys $5 more over the next 2 years, because it's a huge bite to do that all at once. And along with that, try to hire more staff. One of the things we're looking at, we start looking at these other departments and, like Newport, I know they're not in our area, but we are fighting with every town in the state for a small batch of firefighters. And the way I see it, our next firefighters are probably already working somewhere right now, and we're going to have to hire somebody that's already employed. So we need to make ourselves as marketable as possible. But when you take a Newport, which is a smaller town, they're offering firefighter AEMTs 27 to start. You go into the like Pelham, they're in the 23 range. Salem's in the 22 range. Derry's in the 24 range. We are competing with everybody at this point. The other thing this will do is this will put us a little bit more into parity, but still a little bit lower than our own police officers. Their starting rate for a police officer certified, really, you can come in as a police officer uncertified. When you come in as a firefighter, you have to be certified. But their starting rate is the 2655 for 2023, according to the min-max scale. So this will bring us a little bit more into parity with that. And I understand it's not free, it's not cheap. By the difference between the COLA and merit and these increases instead for these guys, but still COLA and merit for the call staff is somewhere around 15,450. And I understand that, you know, giving me your support today, it still has to pass the budget. I'm just looking for your support so I can write my budget appropriately.
The chief and I did meet on preliminarily on his budget, and there were some proposals in there, and the suggestion was to go to because of the nature of the proposal and whatnot, to talk to the board first, just so that it didn't become an initial proposal at budget time, running through the entire budget, having that discussion if it, you know, turned into a lengthy discussion. Just figured it was a better approach to discuss it with the board prior to getting into the heart of the budget approvals.
I have no problem with it. The only problem I have is all the municipalities crying. They can't get help. You people are not the only one. Every private business and every company in this state is having a problem. I have no problem with this. I do want to let you know that. But we're all having the problem. We just all have to deal with.
Yep.
But municipalities aren't the only one.
Oh,
And that's all you hear from the news, that poor municipalities. Well, it's not.
It is every place you go is starving for employees.
I have no problem with that, chief. I thought the fire department full-time was understaffed paid anyways, compared to what the police department's getting. Where you, like you said, you have to be certified. So I have no problem with it.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it either, based on the amount of times I see the ambulance go by my house every day, so I know they're working.
Oh, yeah.
It was a very busy weekend.
Every
world.
single
It's
day.
different.
It's,
I've been hearing a lot of activity myself every weekend. It seems like it's increasing every weekend. And I can understand you being in here, prior to the budget.
Yeah.
And trying to finalize your budget and making that all pan out.
Yeah.
And,
Trying to avoid surprises and just making sure
appreciated.
we're on the same page.
no, I have to agree. I'm on board with it.
get a motion?
I don't know.
All right, Pep.
That's up to you guys.
Do we need to make a motion, or is this just a?
I think a
Yeah,
consensus.
I'm
is
more or
good.
less looking for a consensus of your support so I can
Put it
move
on
that
your
along in
budget.
the budget. I don't want
Put it on your budget.
to necessarily hold you
Right.
to a motion
Nope,
that
I
you
got you.
can't.
I got you, yeah.
As long, put it on your budget.
Yes, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, chief.
Thank you.
Poll petition, Chamberlain Road poll 902F/4. Anybody have any issues with this?
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Second. Oop. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, Roberts Cove beach concerns.
Mr. Chairman, I received this, the email that's in your packet from a resident over on Roberts Cove, next door to the beach. There's a list of concerns, basically observed activities, trespassing, issues of that nature. Just well, I shouldn't say partying, but activities that are in conflict according to the resident with the agreements that were made concerning the beach. I did reach out to the police chief, and you'll see his attached email, just wanting to find out whether or not any of these concerns have been reported. He did say that none of the issues have been reported, so likely there hasn't been an enforcement action at that point. But there is a list of recommendations that they'd like the town to look at. I'll put this in for your information to consider. To see if it's something that the board wants to move forward with at this time or consider.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to have the Parks and Rec director look at these that Ryan's recommending and to come back with a plan in the spring to see how it can be dealt with in the spring, because it's going to be coming to an end.
Yes.
Is it possible that we could put up some game cameras up there or to see what type of activity is going on?
Sure. We can do that.
Does the police department have anything of that nature?
They have, whether they have it or they can acquire it, borrow it.
I'm just wondering. I mean, it sounds like, using their picnic table stuff might have been when they're not there. Because we do have a chance of losing that, correct? If they got pushed far enough on this? Because that was just an easement, wasn't it? Conservation easement?
It is a conservation easement, but I'm not sure about they're out on that. I mean, I do think that we're obligated to, abide by the conditions set forth and do our part. But also what I was saying about with that too is that there were also these issues need to be reported, not waited 3 years
Correct.
and then brought up. But I think we need to work together too, because it is an easement.
I think it was brought up to the Board of Selectmen 2 years ago.
It was.
Was it? Okay.
It was. And we went up and did some things. The runoff was one of the things. That was a problem. We did put some timbers and stuff in there for that. I think there was more garbage cans put up there, and the porta potties were checked on more often.
Sure.
Yeah, because they
Seems
did,
like
they blocked it off from, I'm sorry, Walt, they blocked it off from the fishermen and all that stuff, so that doesn't go up there anymore.
It seems like there's just been a large increase of patrons going in there and using it and.
Yeah, when we met,
Longer.
when we met with the residents about the reconstruction, Scott and I, there was some comments that were made up about a lot of online chatter that made what was a golden secret to the residents in that area a little more broad and open
Well,
to.
and that's something that I'm wondering too, is that you got, if it hasn't been documented, and I'm not, but is it somebody saying something and saying this, and this is happening because they want their own private beach there and they don't want anybody else to use it? So I think we probably ought to look into it and see what's going on there before we start.
Well, it's getting more popular. It's just like the
It
one on
is.
Echo
It
Point.
is.
More
Yeah.
people are finding out we have access at Echo
Right.
Point,
It's
and they're going down and using that.
Right, and I'm not saying that's the case, it might not be a bad idea to check into.
Sounds like it's an increase in population, people going in, using it and staying longer.
Right, because I
Longer
know,
into the evening and
I
at
know
night.
I had a place right next to Roberts Cove where there was a beach there that I could maybe write a letter and get everybody to close it down, then I got my own private beach and nobody can go there and use it. I'd probably write a letter or two too. Just to,
Right.
But it was definitely like
Right,
Ruben
like
suggested
Ruben said,
it,
look,
if we want to look into it.
Look into it even more and
A
see.
little further.
I think it's
Now, that beach, that's open to the public.
Yes.
correct.
Yes.
I mean, that's
And
my
if there's a problem, we need to correct it, but if they're,
That's my understanding.
I think what they're saying is that what is the average width of it is 35 feet.
and they're using more of
Beach,
it.
and there's more and more, there could be 40 to 50 people there at a time, utilizing this little 35-foot area. And I think that's, if you look at the notes, this is what they're saying, and that's what needs to be investigated.
Right.
Do they
Yep.
each have a dog? Are there 20 dogs? Are there dogs getting tied up in the woods on their property? And these are some of the things that need to be looked into.
Well, if there's no limit on the amount of people that can be there,
Maybe there should be.
right? Okay. And how does that get enforced? It's different. That's the problem with these easements. I've been involved in quite a couple of them myself.
And once you hit the water, it's hard to police it.
Yeah, and I don't know. I'm not quite sure what the answers are. But
At least do a little more research.
Can we check out how many times with Kelly, the folks from Grounds have gone up and cleaned the beach on a weekly basis or daily basis?
Sure.
Because that was one of the concerns there too, branches, limbs, litter.
Yes.
I think that's a good, just get more information and then we'll come back and look at it again and see what we gotta do.
We need a
I
bit
think
of a
it's
study.
something we have to look into.
Right,
I
yeah.
think it's gonna be something we're gonna have to maintain. You're gonna have to maintain every year.
Oh, yeah.
You're gonna have to.
I
go up
believe
and-
you are
and
right.
Look, because it will go by the wayside, it'll be quiet, and it's gonna come back.
Yep.
It's gonna be quiet and then come back, just like the one in West Alton.
Yes.
The people that rent the Airbnb right there. all their company parks over there in the open spot, so nobody from the public can park there. So then police, I don't know if it's the police or it's Parks and Rec that went up and wrote a letter to them or had gone up and spoke to them, saying that's public parking. You folks can't park there all weekend.
Yeah.
So.
That's what needs to be done.
Sure. We'll get that info, look into it further.
Old business, the Water Bandstand Committee purchase approvals.
Mr. Chairman?
Yep.
I'll step down off this one.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, this is brought forward, so there was some conversation I wasn't part of in the past, but I know Paul had mentioned that the board had discussed about the water bandstand making purchases out of the capital reserve. Small purchases and being able to do so, which I understand that's definitely the board's purview. Unfortunately, still because it's a CRF and the boards are agents to expend, we still have to have a vote afterwards, even if they're authorized to move forward with repairs and do that. But because it's a capital reserve, when it's established, the agents to expend to the selectmen, that can't really be passed on without a vote.
I thought, and correct me if I'm wrong,
Sure.
a year ago, we made the decision, and the decision was to not have to go to the Board of Selectmen every time something was purchased for repair work. The committee is a subcommittee under the Parks and Recreation or maintenance.
Mhm.
It's a maintenance issue.
Sure.
It's once a year. It's usually for paint and cleaning supplies. If it's anything larger than $5,000, they had to go to the selectmen. As far as bands and entertainment, we made a decision that it didn't have to be a decision of the selectmen every time. It could be approved
Mhm.
for each and every entertainment. So when this matter came to me by the chairman of the Water Bandstand Committee, I came down and personally talked to the finance officer, and I said, this was talked about a year ago, and these were small amounts like this. Anything under that amount could be expended by the committee and paid for by the finance officer.
Sure.
That was my understanding.
No, and I wasn't here, but and wholeheartedly don't doubt that that's what took place. What I'm saying is even if the board did do that, which I'm saying, I'm sure they did, technically, legally, they can't. Because when you establish the CRF on the vote, the agents to expend become the selectmen. And where that's voted on, it's not something that could be passed on or transferred.
How do we get around that with the hiring of the bands?
Hiring of the bands, I thought was done out of,
When we hire the bands, when
Out of the
when the
part-
bands come in, a check is pre-written by the finance department.
I thought they came out of the Parks and Rec department.
Okay.
That comes out of the escrow account. That doesn't
Right.
come out of capital reserve.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, it's a different type of
It's the
account.
escrow account. You're right.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
So,
Yeah, this is
Um,
expenditures from the capital.
yeah.
From the capital reserve. Right.
And the authorities and the power, or I should say, the permissions that the board gave the water bandstand to go ahead and make these purchases and that understanding, that can still be exercised like it did. It's just as a formality. That's why we compiled them together. They're still being paid out, but we compiled them together to come before the board because we know the board's wishes standing is that the committee be able to make these small purchases and not hold up maintenance. But as a formality, before it goes to the trustees of the trust funds and things like that, we have to have that formal vote.
If it's the legal issue, then I understand, but I think it's in poor taste. Because this is a committee that goes out there. The town doesn't go out and take vehicles out there to maintain and maintain the property or anything like
Sure.
that. This is personal property of boats. They don't get reimbursed for their use of their boats or their gas. They go out there and they take care of something. So I think it's in poor taste to have that approved every time that they purchase something to go out there and do that. That's all.
And that's very well something, and this is completely from the legality of it.
Yeah.
Have nothing to do with anything else to do with it, because right now I will pose the issue back out to town council.
Mhm.
And see if he has a better advice for us as far as just that, if there's a way that they can be formally transfer to those authorities, but in looking at it right now with the agents to
Okay.
expend, we're basically erring on the side of caution right now until we have that definitive.
Is it only because it's a capital reserve?
Just because
That's
there
the
is
only
the
reason is
board
because of
disables.
it's a capital
You
reserve.
were right, the other one is the escrow account,
Yeah.
as far as the band's concerned. Thank you for
Right.
clearing that up.
Right.
So
Okay.
So I mean, that is a legal angle there. That's not a.
It'd be
It
nice
is
to
on
find
the-
out
yeah.
from legal counsel if there's a way around that.
Sure,
Do you want us to approve this tonight?
Yes.
Okay, I make
Yes.
a motion.
Is the 187 the full amount?
Yeah,
Is that what it
$187.54.
I'll second.
Alton Home and Lumber Center.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Community Action Program, Pearson Road Community Center Agreement Renewal.
Mr. Chairman, there's the Parks, the Public Works Director is up here. He'll speak to this. He submitted a memo after reviewing the current cab contract and lease for the Pearson Road and had some comments for the board to consider on this. Go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of summarized it. One correction in here. I did learn afterwards that there already is a capital reserve fund for the Pearson Senior Center in regards to that. And I was unaware of that at the time when I wrote the memo. So I did make reference to a couple different options in here that I think might be helpful. So we're struggling because the age of the appliances, and I called out a recent repair of the commercial refrigerator at that location, which was an unbudgeted item. Once again, we budget very, very small amounts, or previously had been very small amounts to take care of the maintenance and upkeep of the appliances and the facility itself. So the town cleans the facility. There's no reimbursement that comes back in. I am aware that there was a serious fundraising effort that went about in order to have the facility. I know the Rotary Club was very involved in that. Many other community folks were involved in that as well. And that the community action operates and does the senior meal there, as well as the Meals on Wheels portion there and preparing the meals as part of that. So, and the town collects $100 a month towards that. I checked with some other communities. When I was in Molten Borough, for an example, Community Action also is now the town's community center there, which is the old Lions Club building. I inquired from them as to what the arrangement was on their agreement as well. Their agreement there is that the community action program pays for the electricity for all of their coolers and freezers. So they have a separate meter for that. And they maintain the appliances that are on site for the commercial kitchen. They have the range, refrigerator, dishwasher, those appliances. Other than that, they pay no rent to the town, and they are there to utilize the facility they use it on a daily basis, actually Monday through Thursday. They're there 4 days a week. There are other civic groups that do utilize the facility itself. The Lions Club still utilizes the facility for their clubhouse. They have a separate area that they store their materials in, but they do have a meal there as well. And they also have a men's group from town that meets there on a monthly basis and has a breakfast there, very similar to, I think the Rotary does that here as well. And there's no fees involved in those civic groups. I'm sorry, the Boy Scouts also utilize the building free of charge as well. Otherwise, they rent the building to other folks for a rental fee to help cover some of the costs that end up happening. So I'm thinking that it would be nice to either try to work with them, or if the board wants to solely take this burden on, that we need to enhance some of our funding either to the capital reserve fund and or the operating budget in order to take on some of these projects as the appliances age and the facility ages, The original VCT, the flooring that's in that building for the original portion of the building is aged in need of replacement. So that's something that, is forecasted in the CIP along with the roof this year and several other items that need, for general upkeep. Vinyl siding is in some tough shape as well. Some of that maintenance has continued to be deferred and hasn't been done and really needs to be to protect the building and keep up with it. So, once again, I'm not sure. I know you've had a long-standing relationship with them. I'm not looking to step on toes, but if in fact we want to defer some of the costs to them to help out or try to talk with them about maybe helping out with the appliance repairs, we'll work that finesse. There's a few options here to kind of look at. That way, I kind of like option number 2 personally. I don't think it's a big increase, but from what I understand it, there has been, some increases there. And then also to be able to put some money in the capital reserve to be able to endure some of those expenses that end up coming up.
I'd have to agree with option 2 myself, in my opinion.
I have no problem with option 2, except for versus trust fund. Can that be set up to where we receive income from those community center buildings that we set up a revolving fund? Such as the transfer station, and folks in town would have to vote on it, but at least that money could go into a revolving account. So when the appliance needs to be replaced, they'd have the money in a revolving account to use.
Do you want to do a revolving or a capital reserve, like a building maintenance? Because there is already a senior center capital reserve.
Either
Which
one.
one? That's already
As long
established.
as we can take the revenues though, because right now these revenues have to go in the general fund. We can't take just these revenues.
That's
and put it
right.
in that capital
You're
reserve.
right. Then it
that's
would
the
have to
reason.
be a revolving because in order.
Because if we're going to charge people to use the place, why not take that money and put it back into the place? Is what I'm saying. It might not be enough to cover all expenses, but at least help. We'll never cover enough to do a roof, but it might be enough to cover stove, refrigerator, air conditioner, something like that.
Yeah, because we end up having repairs. We've made some substantial repairs this year to the heating and cooling system. There, we had to do some upgrades with a ventilation system there for the venting of that propane system that's in there. So we had to do those this year, along with this repair as well to the commercial refrigerator, which was pretty hefty. It's amazing that, costs now, as we all know, are astronomical. That, a small part that might cost $72 would end up costing us $900, because of labor and everything that goes along with it. But I think either a revolving fund or some kind of a trust fund where that money is earmarked so that everybody knows and it's voted on by the people, so to speak, to be putting it into that. Because I know in order to deposit money into capital reserve funds, trust funds, and or revolving fund, it has to be something that's voted at town meeting in order to have everybody approve that. And then you don't have to go through a lot of other motions to have that happen. So
This year, that way there might save from setting up a new capital reserve fund, because everyone's getting tired of all these. Yeah. But revenues could just automatically go into that. And then the selectmen could be agents as to expend out of that.
And then we'll just do that, just amend that CRF at town meeting
Could ask that.
to allow the deposit of revenues. And we can work
At
on
least
that this year.
that's what I would go along with that.
And I would just throw out, I know there was a lot of fundraising efforts that went into this as well. And I'm not sure, my recollection is, I don't believe, you'd have to double check with legal. I kind of ran into this in New Durham when I was there, but we had some people that wanted to be private donors. In other words, somebody might pass away, but they've been going to the senior center for years and, they really appreciate all the work that they do and the facility itself, and they want to make a contribution. And it would be nice to know whether or not they could make a contribution that could go into this same fund for that same purpose, for the betterment of the facility. I just throw that out, you may end up having that the Rotary says, hey, listen, we really would like to see the flooring get, boosted up, and maybe they go into a fundraising, work and end up doing the same thing. That would be awesome to have that happen. And, they may not even know that we're in the the situation that we're in. We don't have a lot of money in the capital reserve. We did ask in CIP for funds for 2023 for the purposes of the roof repairs and the vinyl siding. So be great.
It seems to me that we gotta do something with these buildings, because if we keep putting Band-Aids on them, eventually the hole starts to get bigger, and you've already put all these Band-Aids on it, and now on top of the Band-Aids, you gotta rebuild the whole building. So there's no sense. We ought to just start fixing it right the first time, and
Yeah.
instead of trying to patch it up. So if we need to put a CRF together to keep these buildings upgraded the way they should be, I think it's probably a good idea.
And especially where this building
Ours.
has an income to it. you
Correct.
know.
Right.
And once again, I wasn't looking to, only penalize, the cat people, because I think they do a great job up there and
Yeah,
and
no,
a great
absolutely.
service. I did put in there that I thought that their rent should come up a little bit, only for the inflationary aspects that we're all facing, because they don't pay for any of their utilities. In that I thought that there should be a little bit of an upkick in the rent aspect of things, because, we're looking at, serious increases in electricity and heating for the facility. And even though I realize other people do use it, it's up to the board. I mean, I'm not saying that is a rock solid number that it should be, but I think a little bit of an upkick based upon what the inflationary pieces are that you're facing would be helpful.
Does anybody know how long we've been charging the $100 month?
2017. 2017.
2017.
17?
5 years.
I still think number two is a good suggestion, and changing it from a trust to revolving fund would be the way to go.
I don't know. In that, we also look to review the fees of,
There's an increase.
I mean, that's using it, really.
Yeah.
Because I know the Rotary does use it, but they use it every Thursday. They have breakfast, and they have it, I think, for 2 hours, from 7 in the morning till 9.
Yes.
Yeah, so they're using it. It's not like they're only meeting once a month. They are meeting every week. The weddings, receptions, parties that we have up there, maybe we need to review what we're getting and go up on. And then we do have a deposit, I believe, for a cleaning fee,
Mhm.
but we refund if we don't have to clean, I think, doesn't it? I don't think we keep that.
I'd
It's
have
like
to
a
revisit
security
that. We did
deposit?
change that. I don't think I think there's a security deposit, but I think there's a cleaning fee assessed. Because we do clean no matter what. I mean, they may broom sweep or whatnot, but
That money
still
should
gets
go into this
detailed.
revolving account and look at that and see what we're charging for a cleaning fee.
Mhm.
Yeah.
If we have to go up, times have gone up. Our rates have gone up, our charges, our fees have gone up. So I have no problem with it.
I'm glad that, I'm back and forth talking with Kelly all the time. She oversees that portion of everything, and she's been very helpful. We work together on the building assessments and then what things need to be done there as far as any kind of, maintenance and upkeep, working together on that piece of it, because she does the overall building rentals and usage and events and such. So, and we've been actually talking about a little bit about that because of the Bay Area that gets used for the other events down there as well. So we'll look at that. I'm glad to carry that back to her, and we can bring something to the board, if you'd like.
Sounds good.
Yeah, no, I'm okay with that. We need a motion on that?
I'll check with legal about the revenue deposit.
General consensus.
No, the consensus is fine.
Consensus? Everybody
'Cause
okay
we'll
with
bring,
that?
we'll get more information on.
Yep.
All right,
the,
thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
Thanks, Scott.
Alton Business Association, Gilman Museum sign renovation. Yep. Why not?
Hello, Christy Paincho, Chair, Alton Business Association.
Kelly Sullivan, Vice Chair, Alton Business Association.
I'm Todd McKinney. I'm the sign maker.
So you want to go ahead and do an overview of
Do
the
you,
proposal?
okay, yes.
Yeah, sorry. That's right.
Go ahead.
So the Alton Business Association, we created a subcommittee, the beautification committee, a few years ago. The mission was basically just to assist in the town of just providing a more beautification in our town, not to replace the Alton Garden Club, but any buildings, facilities that we could help facilitate any improvements. And there really wasn't, initial plan was for the Alton traffic circle sign. We came a couple years ago before the board and brought ideas about that. COVID hit, things were on the back burner. Since then, we utilized the Gilman Museum for Festival of Trees, and throughout us using that facility, there was no sign outside the building, no address on the building, and we just kind of recognized these things needed to be fixed. So one of the projects on the beautification committee was to help facilitate fixing this sign. With that information, I had reached out to town officials and asked, if this had been looked into, how we can help facilitate. Then we contacted the original sign maker here, Todd McKinney, and asked him if the current sign could be replaced or repaired. And he said it could not. And we asked him to provide an estimate what a new sign would cost. I also met with the town administrator, asked if there is funding allocated for this building, or we would have to do a fundraiser, and learned that there are reserve funds that could possibly be allocated if approved to do so. Todd's is just the sign maker. He included an estimate for LED signs, which would be solar or power, electrical hookups that would also be needed. So if you've read through the estimate, we tried to, our committee, to try and get the cost down as much as we can, or could rather. The sign, through the estimation from Todd, included installation of posts, but I was able to reach out with Scott Kinman and learned that the town would be able to support installing granite posts and pickup, so that would defray a huge cost. So roughly an estimated cost would be $3,690. That's minimum. And then maximum, barring any approvals or estimates, would be $5,754 if the town could not support installation and transportation of granite posts.
So I see you using an out-of-town contractor for electrical?
No, we got two quotes. So the first quote was the HG, was the company that Todd McKinney had worked with on a prior project. And that was the picture in the attachment from Huggins Hospital. Todd is just, that's who he's worked with. And then the second one was another, our committee members, we just asked, who do you work with? And the second one, what's the other business name? You have it in front of you, but the HD Electrical and then All Points Electrical LLC was the second estimate. We did submit requests from Maine's Electric and from Greg Brooks, but did not hear anything back. So we've been sitting on this for a month and a half, waiting for a third electrical quote, and I haven't gotten it. And we're really anxious just to get this project going if we can get it approved.
The town had reached out to Mr. Brooks or Mr. Maines, even Rhines. They would have gotten a quicker response, because anytime we need them, they come the next day. They will
I
drop
know.
things for us.
Right.
And
And this really should be more of a town project than an association project, because it'll all have to go through the town. Association can't go and make a contract for the town of Alton.
So while I don't disagree, it hasn't been done. And like Christie said, with us utilizing the building for the last few years and having no sign there, we thought we would try to facilitate that. So.
right, and that's the very first paragraph. I completely acknowledge this is a town building. We are not trying to step on anyone's toes.
And I'm not
Nothing
saying,
at
all I'm
all.
saying is it needs to go through the proper channels. The ABA just can't go out and make a contract.
And we are not requesting to do that whatsoever. And that's why Mr. Kinman had
And
helped.
two, there was more important things I think are more dire in the last 2 years than a sign.
Well,
everything
it
that
looks
went up.
like, it doesn't look nice, and we host events there and people don't even know the building exists. So I feel like if there's funds in there to use it to make it better, why are we not doing it?
I'm not saying that we shouldn't. I'm just saying there was more important issues in the last 2 years than to worry about a sign.
I think where we were coming from, and I think we can all agree that there are a lot more pressing issues in the world at large right now than a sign. I think from our perspective, the fact that we do utilize the building and we try to bring the community to that building, and it is a historical building, it's a museum, and we just thought that it was a shame. It's really shameful that there's no sign on it. It is a town building. So while I do agree that it is a town building and the town should do it, and I know there are pressing matters, we thought that if we could help facilitate on the town's behalf to bring it to fruition, that we would try to work with the town to do so. So again, as Christie said, we weren't looking to step on anybody's toes. We were just looking to, try to bring this to fruition. Because and every time we're there, whether it's for a meeting, we used to host all of our monthly meetings there, or for any the festival or light up night or anything else we do there, we get a lot of questions about the sign. Where is it? What's going on? So that's where this came from.
It's appreciated. There has been times that we've tried to get people to go out, volunteers and or people to do outside work of painting and things like that. And we were having some issues with COVID at the time as well, and having personnel that was not, able to do some of the work outside of the building. So there's been.
Yeah. And we
things that
know,
got put on
again,
the
like,
back
and
burner.
I'm here a lot at this meeting. I come to a lot of town meetings, as you're aware. So obviously there's a lot going on in the town, in the world at large, like we said. But we also thought that this was one way that it's right downtown. It's on a museum. It's historic.
Mhm.
A lot of people look to that building, and we thought, if we could help try to facilitate with the town to make it happen. Right now you have everything in front of you, and you could just take it on, and the town could work through the proper
Do
channels.
we have a capital reserve fund for the museum?
Yeah, it's a trust fund. It's the Harold S. Gilman Trust Fund.
Is this something that can be done with that trust fund? Is there enough money in there to cover the, because I agree, I think it should have a sign there. I think it would look nice. I think it brings,
No, I have no problem with the sign.
I
And I get your
honestly don't
point.
think
I
this.
get you.
And there's plenty of funding in there to accommodate this.
Right. I don't have an issue with this whatsoever. I think it'd look nice there, and they do utilize it more than anybody else does.
And hopefully, like, if people see that, okay, there's this nice sign up at the museum, and little changes, right, create big changes. So this is maybe like the first step into maybe having somebody come out to do the painting or something else once they see the town, maybe going forward with these things. So that was just where our organization was coming from.
It's appreciated, and it's a good idea.
And just to clarify for the board members, when I met with Christie and we sat down, that's the way our understanding is that they were providing the legwork and the assistance, bringing it to me to talk about funding, and then we were bringing it to the board. If the board's approval is, I'll work with them through the process on behalf of the town and the board members to make this a town project with their efforts and assistance of
I have
getting
no
it done.
problem with that. And the only other thing that I would suggest and ask that we follow the guidelines of the town zoning for the size of the sign and the lighting.
This is pre-existing though, just so you know.
It is pre-existing, but we're
Yeah, and I think
adding
we
some
went off
different
of
lighting.
basically,
So as far as the lighting, if it's LED lighting or anything like that, we just have to make sure that.
I'll make sure with John or
Make sure
whatnot,
with
but
John
I
that
just
it's-
didn't want you to think there wasn't. This is
No.
actually a remake of the original sign that was my understanding, pretty close to the
Yeah, it's a little bit smaller.
little smaller.
Okay.
Okay.
And that's what I understood.
Right. And also I'd like to point out about, you mentioned the lighting.
Mhm.
The LED lighting that we will utilize will be directed down from the top. So you won't have any,
It's not.
Night
it's so-
light,
it's
no
not
night skies,
facing
right.
up and-
yeah, you won't have anything on the ground shooting up.
Then we're good. Yes, that's the only thing that I would want to make sure that it follows the guidelines of the zoning.
Yeah, I think it's great.
I think
Make
so.
the
I don't,
downtown look a heck of a lot nicer.
Yeah, I think so.
We need more of it.
so are we looking for the 5754 or the 3690 on this?
30, again, this was, like Ruben brought, this is not something, we're not signing contracts with anybody. We're
Right,
just,
I
here you go,
understand that.
here's the information, please execute and sign where we need to sign to make this project happen. And I've talking to Mr. Kinman that they're in full support of helping, and it would require a little logistical support on their behalf. It's it's 1-2 day project at minimum. But so whoever you would select to, there's 2 contracts for the electrical, whichever one would be who, and then there's no, if the town can pick up the concrete or the granite pillars, then there would be no expense. So 3690 is the minimum.
if the boards are right with just setting a maximum of the 57, 54, not to exceed,
That's what I was
then we will, if with the board's permission, I'll work with them to get to that minimum if possible, but at least get it done.
Absolutely, and we can also reach out to two of the local contractors for electrical mains and.
Sure.
Well, if that, I mean, I'll make the motion that we approve this with a not to exceed $5,754.
I will second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
I,
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies, for that. That's, appreciate it. Selectmen's reports, Mr. Holt.
I just have one little milfoil committee. Next year, we're gonna be looking to, or they are, the committee will be looking to do some work from the dam, the river down to Packer Marine. We've done it before mechanically. There's a new chemical out now that is much safer. And we've sent a letter, email to our water department. She'll review it and make a recommendation. Which will work a lot better if it can work. They'll be coming in with a warrant article again this year, 5,000, which is what it was last year. This year, we got 50% refund from the state.
State, yep.
We're afraid though that next year, not gonna be that good. What it'll be, we don't know. Usually it's around 40% if I remember right.
All right. Mr. Morse.
CIP, we're meeting with the last department head tomorrow night. And then crunching numbers, I guess.
those are,
Yes, sir. Alton zoning met on September 1st. They had two applications. One was an equitable waiver and the other was a variance, and both were approved. The master plan committee met on September 7th and was in further discussion with the counselor on chapter 6.1 of the transport in the town of Alton. And that is in discussion at this time for review from the planning board. And last, the alternative housing meeting met tonight at 4 o'clock. And it was the general consensus of the committee and the town planner to disband the alternative housing committee for the reasons of basically overlapping with Zach. And time is of the essence, and actually both committees Zach was the one who required or asked for the committee of the alternative housing, and it seems as though that it's going to make more sense for Zach to take it over. If it's the consensus of Zach within a year to feel as though that they should have the committee back, they will.
Okay.
As of now, some of it's already been handled through the alternative housing, but it's all going back to Zach anyway. So is it, and the committee was getting smaller and smaller. It was getting harder to have a quorum. So at this time, it's going to be disband and going fully over to Zach. That's it.
All right. Approval of minutes. Oh, I'm sorry, town administrator report. I want to evaluate because I know how long it's going to take.
So the first thing is Halloween hours. Looking to get those advertised. So the proposal is from the police chief is to continue with the October 31st date of actual Halloween from 5 to 7 p.m. That agreeable with everybody? Yeah, seems to be working out all right. for the years past. So if that's good with the consensus of the board, we'll go ahead and advertise those hours and date. The second thing is just I had sent, Stacy had sent out an email to the board, just advising you of voting, the reminder of voting tomorrow, and we will need some selectmen there. I don't know if you've had time to speak amongst yourself. I know that it gets split up. Everybody has
I
commitments.
will be there in attendance from 7 to 2.
Too. And then
I can do 1 to 5.
I'll leave work I'm gonna try to leave work at 2:30 to be there. So that'll put me in there. And if I can leave a little earlier, I will, but I have a meeting at 2 o'clock that I have to be at, so.
I'll be there at 7.
Okay.
Okay, I will.
can you
What
do
time
the
are you gonna
morning?
be? I'll be the,
Yeah,
Fill
I'm
in.
leaving at 2.
okay.
Going from 7 to 2, so somebody,
Yep, I just gotta be at 6 here for the CIP. That's the only thing. It doesn't go to 7.
Yeah.
it-
seven.
it
So,
will- it
I'll
will
have
go
to leave.
7, then they sometimes need help, usually need help for counting.
I mean, look, however it works, but, I just have that meeting at 6 o'clock.
I think as long as we have 2 selectmen there all the time, we're okay, right?
Yes.
It's supposed to be. I can stay there most of the day.
I mean, if you want, I can come in at what, 2, what? how
I'm
long?
leaving at 2.
So yeah, I can come in laps if you want to come in at the end, just to cover me so I can come to the meeting.
Oh, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, like,
We'll make it.
yeah.
Make it work
Figure
one
it
way.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we'll go to jail.
Yeah. Well, I think you can appoint somebody at that point, Bob. I'm pretty sure legally you can appoint somebody if you can't be there, so.
Okay.
All right.
The next thing is the packet of photographs that I sent you to give you an update on the renovations and some of the discoveries, recent discoveries. So what you're looking at is most of this is brick damage. The big concern obviously is the multiple leaks that we found in the roof, active leaks. So all 3 chimneys are leaking. The flashing, this pictures of the flashing was never replaced. It's cracked, broken. Then the other issue is there's a couple of the valleys by the dormers. This is an active leak now, right here in the room. We thought this was old damage from the chimneys or whatnot, but this last rainstorm, I sent you a picture of the stain on the carpet. And actually, we got enough rain that it went down in the clerk's office too. So we're actively working on, I did, since we had the leak moving on, and we had the lull here. I mean, not the lull, the lift that was lent to us. The mason's already gone out, it started sealing some of these open active leaks. There's also areas like above the window that I showed you where somebody had knocked out 2 layers of the brick to the outer wall, and that's not secure. That needs to be repaired. So at this point, I wanted to update you, the estimate I have. So the brick mason is still the same brick mason that we've employed before to do the work here. He's working on time and materials right now. He has given me rough numbers. The chimneys altogether, the repointing and the flashing was roughly $3,000. The repairs to the roof and to the interior brickwork and the separating the walls were about $9,000. And a reason, again, when we talked about this original renovation that we were doing time and materials instead of a bid is because we weren't quite sure what we were going to open up into. And that's still true right now. I will say that we've done as you can tell by the photos, done quite a bit of exploring. We're not anticipating on opening up any more in regards to the roof and whatnot. It's been thoroughly dissected now, both through the attic system and up from the aerial lift. That we're confident that we've discovered the issues that are there and active, so that we can address them. I know there was some latitude that was given in the vote when we started the renovation, with the agreement that obviously I would continue to update you folks and let you know where we are and what's going on. At this point, I just wanted to make sure I had the board's consensus to go ahead and continue repairing these issues that have been identified that are above and
We have a
beyond.
choice.
No,
It's all going to the Clough Moore Trust Fund anyway, right?
Right, as a Clough Moral, then the CRF,
Yep.
we still have money in the CRF. The other thing, and I haven't used any of this money, but I know when we talked, the ability there down the road, if you wanted to, we got the second ARPA payment of 278,000. That isn't earmarked for anything at this point. I know we have some other projects, we have some other things, but obviously the nature of these repairs are important at
It
this.
sounds, I
point.
had the pleasure of speaking with him the other day when he was upstairs, and it sounds like that he will be available to do this
Oh, yes.
right away.
Yeah, he's already on it.
Are you
He's
talking
already
about
on
the
it.
Mason?
Yeah.
And that's a very reasonable price.
It is a reasonable price. It looks like, looking at the photos, some of the flashing was not too short.
Mhm.
A lot of it was old.
Not counter flashed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that makes me nervous that you can see out through the wall of, that's a load bearing wall right there with all that brick is, and you can look right out through it.
Yeah.
It's almost, I'm kind of glad we took it apart because we wouldn't have known it was there if you didn't. I know it was.
I don't know why somebody knocked that out. I'm wondering if back in the day there was a
hole right
need,
out through the
there was a
wall.
need for an egress. I don't know. It was when the balcony was in use, so that was before my time, but it looks like they squared off. They took out the arch over the window and then busted out the brick and almost a square over the top of it. Looked like an egress.
Outer layer.
Well, no, the outer layer was pieced back in afterwards. So at one point in time, that was out to daylight.
You can see.
But then it was patched back in, yeah.
I wonder.
Got some pictures here of the ridge cap missing
Yes,
in a valley.
yep,
I can see nails.
coming up through.
Yeah, well,
Those aren't the things that scare me the most. It's the rotted ceiling joint rafters that are up there. Did you see the rafters that mount on the top of the sill plate up there that
I
are all
didn't know-
rotted
no,
right
I didn't know
off?
that. No.
What he's talking about is the ones that, those are rafter tails coming down by the
Oh,
chimneys.
yes.
The rafter, yeah, the
Oh, yeah,
rafter tails.
yeah.
Yeah, that's all rotted.
It's all rotted
Yeah,
right off.
on each side of the chimney.
how long ago did we have this roof replaced?
It wasn't all that long, was it?
10 years.
Has been,
I've been here 6 and it was 3 years before I took office.
was it?
It was a 2-year project, I believe, that
remember
when
it
it was
being
being done.
I remember when they were doing it.
Being done.
Well, that price also included him, he's building crickets for the back of the chimneys too.
Yes,
So that to gravity feed the water away
I
too.
was gonna mention that because you can see that the backs of the chimneys do not have a cricket. It's flat.
Nothing,
That's a
it's
lot of
flat.
volume of water coming from the ridge down onto that.
Yeah. We started receiving an active leak. So there's the third chimney is right there in that corner and half of it is in the IT manager's office. And because there's a puddle behind the chimney, this last rainstorm, it started to leak into the IT manager's office as well, so.
Well, at least it's caught. At least we caught it.
Yeah.
At least we
It's
caught it.
time to take care of
If
it.
we'll fix it and we can,
Better fix it.
It's time.
gotta be fixed.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yep, thank you.
So if the consensus is we're all set with this, we'll move forward with it. So the last thing I have for you is, I wanted to have a quick conversation. I met with the facilities committee and the fire chief is gonna come up and sit with us too for a minute. He's as the chair of the facilities committee. So, like I said, I was asked to come in and sit and speak with them about, the current state of some of our facilities and what direction the town's looking to go in and what we might be thinking. And part of the concern, obviously, the facilities committee has as well is where trying to get things moving a little bit more forward in regards to buildings cost, what we would be looking at. And basically the concern is no matter, it's kind of hard to decide completely what we need for land. If we don't understand really what the footprint, not just of the building, but the support area and future growth is going to look like. So the thought was, and the conversation we had with the facilities committee, and by consensus of their group is in support of, is we like to move forward with trying to find a company or a package where we can look at a engineering firm and architectural firm to do a design. The facilities committee has taken up a lot of the needs assessment from the department heads and what they're looking at, space, personnel, future growth. They've been considering all of that, but we're looking to find a proposal or proposals that the board can look at for us to design a project unique to the town that the town would own. It would not be contingent upon one company building it or not building it. It wouldn't be contingent on one site or the other. Basically, it's more of a realistic, I don't want to say conceptual because it'd be more than a conceptual, but some very detailed plans on what these facilities would look like so that we can get a proper takeoff on it. And then maybe that we can collectively sit down and look at which direction do we want to go? Do we want to look at more than one building at a time? Do we want to take off one building, at a time where and a lot of that's going to depend on cost and money. And right now, unfortunately, without having anything to really look at, building wise, it's hard to get even a reasonable takeoff of what that might look like, an overall cost.
So
Go ahead.
basically, the facilities committee is kind of at a standstill. We've put all of our ideas together. Highway managers come up and we've sat down and we've talked about what our space needs are. The problem is I'm not an architect. We can't really draw it out. I can't tell you what the footprint's going to look like. And I can't tell you how to set it up for future expansion. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for somebody to kind of put this stuff, put pen to paper and show us the stuff that we don't know.
Have you determined whether or not any other departments can use and facilitate some of the buildings that already exist? And to moving departments from one area to another, to start off that way before you determine what you need for a building. Have you done that? I mean, in other words, the fire station, if the fire station is too small, is it no longer adequate as a fire station? Can it be used for another department?
Yes, yeah, that.
And what departments could be used at? Now, that would give you an idea, if you haven't done that already, give you an idea. All right, this is what we need for the fire station. This is what we need for the police department. And is that what you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, we have ideas of what the buildings that are no longer adequate can be used for other places. But that has not helped us figure out what we need for the new place by any means.
It doesn't help you decide, okay, I can move the Parks and Recreation Department here in the fire department. I can move the water department there. Now we know we only need these two departments over here for another building and possibly put those two together. So that doesn't help you do that?
Well, as far as that, sure. Just what we're looking for is how to build our footprint.
The size of the building.
Yeah.
Future, I guess.
The size of the building, what the future needs are going to be, and what the current infrastructure needs to be to support.
Have we gone to, say, like town of Farmington, we just built a new safety building
Yep,
down
we
there?
just toured
See
it.
what
We
theirs is?
walked through them.
Wasn't there one in Newmarket or somewhere down in the Seacoast Newfields, was it, that just built a new one?
Yeah,
But they had some problems with the engineering firm that did that. They couldn't open it. I'm just saying, some of these other areas that's built these, if they had plans, would they be willing to share? If they owned them versus the architect firm owning them. But that's all I'm wondering. I mean, I had no problem with
Farmington
that.
doesn't own theirs. I called them on
Yeah.
theirs.
I mean, I have no problem with that. I think you're right. First of all, you gotta figure out where you want to put it.
Yeah.
The fire department needs to be in the central location of the community. So it needs to be able to go in all four directions of this community, if not five, if you count 140. The highway department can be centralized, but if it's not, that's not going to hurt them so much. It'll just be a little longer getting out to the further outskirts. Those are your two most important departments right now. That's what to me, that's the most important focus.
Yep.
Because with the money
I
that's
agree.
stationed down at that fire station right now, for what it's sitting in, all the Band-Aids, we talk about Band-Aids here, that building's had more Band-Aids
Oh, yeah.
than
Oh, yeah.
10 Band-Aid boxes.
Yeah.
It's just Band-Aid after Band-Aid. You just found that out with the roof. The highway department, same thing. We just kept adding on. And we keep digging into the old dump that's still sitting there. So, I mean, my two things are fire department and highway department. And I can't tell you which one's more important because we got the same amount of equipment in both of those buildings, value wise.
The only thing I would think of in that in terms of that is the highway department is still in a watershed area. So I think the highway department should be considered, you know, not necessarily a priority, but the two have to go at the same time between the fire department and highway department. I have to agree 100%. I was only saying and suggesting in my way of thinking as a contractor and looking at buildings and what they can be repurposed for.
Yep.
If not repurposed, torn down, okay, now can we do something else on that lot? And these are some of the things to me that you think of first. And then determine getting a plan for a fire station that is adequate for the next 20 years down the road, and the same thing for the highway department, but.
Yeah, we're hoping to look at a fire station that's gonna serve the town for 50 years. Hopefully, and that's where these design firms can kind of come in. They can show us what will meet our needs today and what future expansion may look like, and give us some cost projections on both.
When you looked at other fire stations, or when you guys went looking at stuff, did they say what it's gonna cost just to get a preliminary, like what the building's gonna look like?
So-
Yeah,
Oh, as far as the drawing, I was gonna say,
Yeah.
as far as the building goes,
well, no, I meant the drawing, sorry.
yeah, that's changed quite a bit.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's gonna be between like 85 and 100,000.
Just for the plans.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, for the engineering and the
Oh.
plans and the architectural, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's not cheap.
Yeah.
That's
The
not
only- the
infrastructure too.
That's what's a conceptual design, that's not in the architectural.
Right. But we will own it,
Yes,
at least.
that's the build plans, the architectural and the engineering.
The
That's
thing
all
with
three.
visiting something like Farmington is Farmington's safety building is a police department and a fire department.
Mhm.
You're not counting for, yeah, you've got your bays for all your fire trucks, but you gotta add another 5, 6, 7 bays on there for all the highway equipment. It's not the same,
No.
it's
I
not
think-
apples to apples.
No, and I think the fire and
I think
police should
the
almost
two
be
of them should
together
separate.
anyway.
You shouldn't have.
Yeah, they're not
I
gonna be,
agree.
no.
I
no.
agree.
Same with police. I don't believe the town needs a safety.
I have to agree with you, and I was just gonna say to you, I know for a fact in Wolfboro that they don't get along very well at all, and it doesn't work well with the
For-
police department.
most times don't.
in the
Oh, really?
Same building, they do not work well.
No, I would think those
That
two
I
would go
know.
hand in hand, but.
We do work well.
Well, you do work well.
No,
until you
No,
live
you
together.
guys work well, I'm just
Yes.
talking about in the same building is all I.
Yeah. Where I mean, I came from the town of Bow where we put a safety center in, and that actually, it did work out well there. We had, the appropriate shared space, the emergency operations center, training space like that, it made it work.
And Wakefield the same way. They have fire and police are in the same building. And there's a hallway that separates the fire department from the police department. They have their own space. It's not. I don't believe that a highway department and a fire department belong together.
But we don't need a new police department.
Right, I understand.
That's
that.
the
I
thing.
get that.
Remodel.
I get that.
Yeah.
The only reason why it may become a consideration for you folks is not because you need one, but from a cost and future longevity standpoint, you're talking about moving people around. Well, the police department will outgrow their facility before some of these other smaller areas. And if you're going to rotate other departments that are pressed for speed, pressed for size, the police department, it's more cost effective to build a safety building together than two separate buildings. Then you would have another large building in the downtown areas consolidated, because that's the other issue. If we're gonna if we're gonna move a department, say we end up having to move land use out because of the lack of space in their own area with all the filing cabinets and everything else. Hopefully we could rectify that, but right now they're busting at the seams down there.
I would consider that more of a future expansion possibility than something that has to happen right now. The police department, Todd's come forward and said, we are good as we sit. Yes, we're gonna need some future expansion, whether it's, and that's up to, the town to decide whether it's worth putting more money into the police station that's here for the police department, or if we're gonna do a town center type of deal and put the facilities all together, expand into a public safety center, as there is some shared space that does work together.
My thing on it is why not consolidate some of these police and fire into one? Then you're not paying for utilities in one building. I mean, everything's right in one location. To do, if you're gonna build a building 50 years down the road, why not set it up so you can have your police and fire in one, and your highway and your water department in this one, and your parks and rec could go down to the fire
After two
station.
personal experiences at safety buildings, I will still vote against it. And it was two different police chiefs. One over in Pembroke. Fire chief said I could use the parking lot to load a truck that a kid had broken down. He said, not a problem. I'm loading the truck. Police chief comes in. It was Halloween night. He said, what the hell are you doing here? I said, the fire chief said I could load this truck. He said, this is my building, not the fire chief's. Get the hell out of here. Now, this was a police chief talking to me, who's supposed to represent a community. As far as I'm concerned, if I was selecting that night, I would have brought it back to the board and told him to fire him, even though you couldn't get rid of him. But that was his main philosophy, that he owned that building, not the fire chief. And it's supposed to be a building shared by two, and that happened to me in one other community.
Yeah, but the thing is neither one of them own the building, the town does.
No, but it was the arrogance of a man.
Right, I understand that.
Talking to me.
Well,
But I've heard it in other communities where it doesn't work more than it does work. And all I'm saying is right now, the fire department is more, and the highway department is much more of a dire need.
It is.
than the police
Oh, I
department.
agree with
If
that.
you want to plan on,
It's a great limit there.
if you want to plan on future planning for the police department, fine. And into a building with the fire department, that's fine.
Yeah.
But I mean, the main focus should be more on the fire department, highway department.
Highway.
And yeah, that is the focus. And the idea and the only reason police is in is because we want to focus on the future as well.
I mean, we want to
plan it right so it doesn't cost more money in the long run.
We had a bad accident at the highway department. That was about 15 years ago, if I remember right. And a wing tower fell over on one of the workers down there because it was so crowded, it was unsecured. The man almost lost his life in there. And before it gets to that point again, that's why I say between fire and highway, that has to be the most
It
important.
is.
Oh, yeah.
And I
That
agree
is the
100%.
focus.
And the only thing I was saying, I was agreeing with moving on is, as far as the police department and the fire department, I use Wolfboro for an example, because I know several of the police officers over there, and I know some of the issues over there. Not that they dislike each other, it's the mere fact of the room that they have and how they work with their parking area, their parking and their facility and stuff like, there's always seems to be issues. And if they each had their own building, there wouldn't be parking issues. There wouldn't be issues of testing equipment and taking equipment out and, cleaning fire trucks and water hoses and equipment and stuff like that. They would have each their own place, much like you do now.
Have you ever looked at the safety building in Bedford, New
No.
Hampshire?
No.
Well, there's one that's working perfectly.
Okay.
So, yes, you can have problems with everything. And if it's a personnel problem, it's a personnel problem. That's not a building problem.
I think there can be some design issues.
Right, exactly. It's a design issue.
What it depends upon is the amount of land we have,
Mhm.
whether you do this. And I agree, the fire and the highway is not something that should be together. They could be on the same parcel of land with, if it's a big
separate
parcel. But a public safety building can work. And it can save you money in the long run. I know we got a new police
It's
department down here. So that's something we'd have to balance out.
But that building could be utilized by some
Oh,
of
sure.
us.
So is this a warrant article we're looking at for this year? To raise the money to pay for the engineering fees, visual design?
Well, it depends on where we're at money wise. The other option would be that we have two existing capital reserves that both include they would both support in their use for funding for this, both for the fire station and the highway department. They both have capital reserves.
Why couldn't you use the highway block grant money for that? That's that's gonna be used to maintain the roads. That's money that's at our disposal that didn't cost the taxpayers a dime, other than, tolls and whatnot, but our
That was supposed to,
demographic.
the recommendation was to help offset the rubber chip seal on that, was the recommendation on that, correct?
I believe that's what the memo was.
I mean, I have no problem using the capital reserve, but I still think we ought to have the townspeople on board with us when we do it. You know what I'm saying? Instead of just going out and spending $85,000 for a conceptual design of one building or even two buildings.
This basically falls.
I mean,
under
get
an
proposals.
estimate.
I have no problem getting proposals, but I'd like to keep the town well informed, the residents and taxpayers well informed. This is what we're doing, because they were thinking it's going to be for building repairs or stuff like that, not so much go out and get a conceptual design, even if we had to have a public hearing on it. At least that's the way I'd feel better.
And might need to have a public hearing because we might, you know, depending on how things play out with this contract and whatnot, we might have a land purchase on the warrant, and having that conceptual and the land, that's sort of putting the cart before the horse. We might want to do a public hearing
I
first on that
agree.
one.
I think so.
Yeah.
Because the more people you have on board
No, yeah?
to do it.
I agree.
And I will tell you that I am building Public Works building right now. As we speak, the holes in the ground, I'm building it right now. And I put it out as an RFP for a design build. And I didn't have to pay $100,000 for architectural plans. The plans were brought to us, but we had the piece of land prior to that, so we knew where the building was gonna go. We knew where we could put it. So we said, this is where we want it, and this is the area that we want. And they brought us a building with a plan that we own.
Yeah.
I can roll it, that goes in it. We didn't pay $100,000 for it.
You already knew the size of your
I
lot,
knew-
the size
I
of
knew
your
the si-
building,
yes.
what you could put on it.
Correct.
But that's.
So
not-
having
but
a
we don't
piece
know
of land
that.
is a big part of the story.
Not right now.
So we don't know that. So you're looking to see how big the building could be to see if we can find a piece of property.
We need to make
put
sure
it-
that the parcel's gonna fit the building.
Right.
Yeah. Or
Yeah,
buildings,
Yep.
I
Yeah.
and,
agree with that.
and
I
allow
just-
for
Yeah.
future expansion as well.
Right.
Because we don't want to have land, put two buildings on it, and then say, okay, we need to build something else, but now it's not gonna fit.
Right. Like 20, 30 years down the road.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, so where's the land?
Yeah, that's the next problem.
That's,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right, well,
Yeah.
we're looking to, you know, we were looking for the consensus of the board so that we could get some more information, bring it back next meeting. So that we can look at maybe some numbers and some possibilities and how to move forward from here.
Thank you.
Get something moving.
I think it's a
you.
good
Thank you,
idea.
Chief.
It's
Thank you, Chief.
definitely needed. We definitely need
Oh,
it.
there's no question.
Well, we do. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Now approval. August 15th, 2022, public session.
Make a motion, we accept the August 15th.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Non-public, do we have to?
No, my recommendation after that approval, I believe I don't think we need to keep number one sealed.
No,
So we're under contract now, so I think legally we have to disclose that.
okay. So I'll accept the motion for the August 15th, 2022 non-public session.
Don't move.
We gotta release one.
You gotta-
Gonna release
Number one.
Apologize. Need a
I'll
second,
second,
Okay.
as amended.
as amended, yep, sorry. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Consent agenda approval.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Discretionary action and request for appointments. William Nims for Winter Roads on Hazlet Road, and I'm gonna try to pronounce this correctly, Jim Rochella of Dan Kelly Drive. They'd like to speak on behalf of the Winter Roads. I think, yeah, all right.
That a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion.
Okay, I'll second it.
Any discussion?
How many minutes are we allowing?
I mean,
Usually it's 10, but
Yeah.
It's 10 minutes.
10
usually it's
minutes,
10
is
minutes.
that-
You don't want to, I don't want to stay here for an hour.
No.
Right.
We're not going to accomplish anything on it.
No, yeah. No, it's usually Usually 10 minutes.
10 minutes, we'll do 10 minutes on it.
I
Does
mean,
that work?
they-
Everybody okay with that?
10 minutes.
All right.
I mean, we could roll them into, I mean, the issue's the same. They're two separate roads, but the issue and the discussion is going to be the same. You know, about that. So I mean, I think reasonably we could put them both into, let one speak in regards to it and then have the other one speak and then the board can discuss it that if you're, instead of trying to hold them as two completely separate issues. I'm good with that.
So do we max it out at 15 minutes for the both of them? If it goes,
That's fair.
is that fair?
15, yeah.
Everybody okay with that? All right. All right, public input. Whoever's first.
Good evening, Richard Shea from Roberts Cove Road. Seems I'm always here about Roberts Cove Road. I'm sorry I missed the discussion that was on the agenda tonight concerning the little beach area down there. Sure, it has the same problems that any public space has, probably exacerbated by its small size and complicated by the ownership issue. I don't imagine that you gentlemen were able to reach any solid conclusions. I'm curious about what you might think going forward, or whether that would be slated for further discussion at a future meeting. I know the town does a pretty good job with other public spaces, keeping them picked up. So I hope that whatever is done in those spaces might be considered here. I would hate to see the beach closed. It does get a lot of use. And because of the gradient, it's great for little kids. So anything you could do that way, I would appreciate. And I'm sure my neighbors would as well. The other thing I just wanted to mention is I know that we're doing renovations to the town hall. I hear some of the discussions tonight about discoveries being made on structural issues and water leakage and so on, all of which you'd expect in an old building. But my understanding is that some of the construction is to provide for additional storage space in an upper area. And having been from a facility situation where people's ability to figure out how to cram more in smaller spaces is truly amazing. And you'll find 5-drawer file cabinets with 3 feet of banker's boxes on top of them and 2-foot aisles and everything piled up. And I hope that you will either set load limits or design for the possibility that somebody's going to use it for a steel mill or both, because I've seen times when yours truly did not do that and it didn't work out that well. So thank you very much.
Kelly Sullivan. Just want to speak a little bit to the facilities of the town overall. Obviously, it was discussed about maybe looking into a newer facility for some type of departments. Clearly necessary. The fire department alone is a blatant, obvious disrepair, followed very closely by the town shed. But then we hear about the town hall. We know work needs to be done just around town. We talked about the sign earlier with the ABA, and that's a town building. So I know there are a lot of things going on in town and there are a lot more pressing matters, but when stuff is left to the wayside, then it becomes a big issue. And that's where the Band-Aids happen, because then you're throwing good money after bad. So I think that we're on a better path now, I think. But overall, I just would like to see the town step up a little bit more with the maintenance overall. And I know that's hard, especially now going into unprecedented times again. But we are all still moving forward and the buildings will continue to age, and the more we don't do to them, the more they're going to fall to pieces. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any more? Seeing none. I don't believe we have any non-public tonight, so I will entertain and.
So moved.
Second.
I don't know why he was drawing out
I
so
was
long
just-
anyways.
I was trying to get it out. It just didn't work.
Having a hard time there or what?
It's too early for this.
Do we get a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Yep.